Yeah, time also the also so I can do it short the what is our just on the names that Tomo was saying it is so much on which Dorje Tama Tomar Chiesa de one Chiesi and it change of cousin Messi Lamdron Jerome Botany Ranyo Kijimi Yenayota she's an Samjol Pene Samjolia Yoni Maso Pagi Pandindaga Bombi Kimolosa Lita 아니 비자타니 다티니야지 디란에서 대장시 자성 지대 가서 뭐 싫다 말해 디즈니 아니 바로 르네 콜 디시전이 트라이자 사람 돌렸다 말이야 아니 르네람 점벨라지 르네람 점바도 아니 지리야 아니 다다 도말이야 아니 보이더니야 보이다 존도냐가 로지드니 털이야 그게 제일 맞지 아니 대도냐다 아니 조선 돌아라 저버리 들어가는 점이가 아니 인데도 시원해라 전체시 또 조선 조선 뭐 드니치네 다 아마 다들 니번로도 드니는 오시래 어찌 이로지로도 된 지구래
Girgurinde. So first of all, welcome everyone to Stile. Also everyone, welcome to here to Shide. And I'm going to present very in brief myself. So because Anila asked me, so it's okay, I need to present myself. And so I'm going to give a very short and brief introduction about myself. I'm Geshe Lharampa, I'm Tashi Dorje. And then I also came from Kham, and then I did all my whole studies of Geshe degree, of Geshe Lharampa degree in South India, right, and Japan. And then after I finished my degree there, and so after I finished my degree there, again I studied Tantra, and then after I also graduate myself in Sara College for Tibetan language, and so I have the Bachelor of Tibetan grammar and language and culture, and nowadays I'm the teacher of Tibetan language and grammar at the Dromaling Nunnery, and also I'm Nani Lubjun Chishibara.
Dromaling Gichejo, Zosalia Lubjun.
Lo Kato, Loni, Samanyan, she.
Luni Chene Dini, da Luni
Okay, and also I just finished the another studies of Tibetan language at Zonska Institute in Beer. Okay, so that's a little bit of my very brief introduction. I said that he's Geshe Lharampa, but he didn't say. Because it's true, so I told. So I didn't say this.
나 뒤에다 이니 다 도머들라 이 남아서 걸린점에서는 뒤에 아니 맞죠 기제제서 요니 니와도 지은이 자도니 세서는 왜 정말이야 아니 디소통이서니 니들이 영화들아 아니 정도 되시되리다 아니 마로 뭐니 공시와데 아니 지지 권시제니 저의 날에 니케제나 자서 거듭지도 책이었어. 니 남아서 저와가리야네 제잖아. 얘나 매일레 접트이니 봐요. 자소문시 말. 얘나 권시바 되는 맞서 봐서 아니 저한테는 되죠. 아니 조서로와 저 로만도 지마에 전부로 드님에서 맞서 자서 지고지죠. 매일 지고지죠. 아니 계제가리 시와요나 타가타가 시잖아. 만디가 지요 말 맞서 지고지죠.
So I really want to give your welcome, everyone here, either people at home, either people here, and seriously, now that we are going to start talking, so I'm going to present whatever I prepared, just to give a very brief introduction and a very brief understanding on the consciousness and so forth. But it's not because like I am the teacher and so you are the student. So we have this sort of I am bigger or more important and you're less important. Please, not at all. Don't look at me like that, because I really see everyone, and I want that you see also myself as exactly as the same, because we are exactly the same path. So please don't create this separation of someone very big here and lower there. Is not like that.
다 들이 와서 다 싫어서야지 노르다나 강에 있는 등에 있는 대다 탐지는 노르다나 싫어서 되게니 디 강에 세워 털로 야쇼 아니 시바는이나 시바 타쇼 초도 잡아도 이거 성사 아니 등에 세워 잡아 초 톱초도 잡아도 싫음이 미꼴이야 말은 konshishiyes.
So since we are talking about, when we talk about discernment, we are talking about wisdom. So the wisdom actually is one of the kinds of mind that is the supreme mind. Is the mind that is supreme in the sense of, because of the functions and because of it's can work in such a fine and deep level, that's the reason that when we talk about discernment, we are talking about a very high kind of wisdom that we call the discernment wisdom.
최소한의 인디다 나서 논주 뭐니 싫어서데 문즈 제동 싫어서데 간디질이야 샤유미 딘자 싫어서도 뭐 니모준도 디스치스.
So for this reason, I'm gonna explain to you now a little bit about wisdom.
최소한의 싫어서들이야 뭐로 다시 제동도이나 배모모요라 저도 싫어 거로는 세녀 뭐니다 로일라 깨버 제비 제리친지 심저지가 싫어라고 하지. 얘나요. 다 싫어고 다시에다가 빼먹어요라서.
So what means wisdom? So some of you already studying. So what means wisdom is that secondary mind or the mental factor or secondary mind that has the main function to.
야, 다시 민타도 싫어서다 가르치는 싫어라고 그래서 민타도인데 간대치는라고 그래서 결도 시바사데 마시바지 시비자니 시바. 디누니요 시바누니요 치 렉쇼 야쇼 미자니 럽스니 야쇼. 초도 제바 텔레야 럽라고. 제스티인자 시바누니 텔레야 럽 초 렉쇼 텔레야 아니 인자 텔레 시럽스니 미타셔.
And why we call wisdom? So in Tibetan, wisdom is Shepa. Just Shepa is consciousness, but it's the supreme consciousness. It's that consciousness that has a supreme function. So for this reason, wisdom means that supreme consciousness.
어째서 이니다 시러자게 시러자들이야. 제시 저한테 마소 남지요. 저도 단다디 일체 문인데 시작도 지도 일코로 문인데 시작도 일레그레스 아니 일체 문인데 시작해서 시바달라 조세 또 심저치네니 노르드나 시바달라 심정을 마치도 아니 조세드니 들리지는 가서 시바가 나오셔 시월에 시바달라 아니 빼모마시 시그레스 디니다 계치저디 무슨 사마도 지바체마스 아니 다음 저도니 루리가 나오셔 시비디 노소지바치시 전화만 이데솔로시 우든선시 디누니요 시반 디누니요 참아이게 시바들은 무슨 참아도 지바 참아서는 니시 무슨 참아서 되게 무스도 되게 되지 지바 참아서 되지 점세도 따뜻한 뭐 보지라 되네 또 되게지라 지바 참아라고 하래 디누니요 싫어서 간다지라고 하래 시바 데이터 탐치누니 초 라미 미진지 아니 콜 싫어라고 가르치니 초 싫어 이미지는 yertowi kasala yanda shiba sodo mandravachi ku kartowi yorasana yemmenga navja to drito mandri ani navja yapu chebarcheni ani muyo ne tsi tela pabe shiba chi yemichani mondal ya shirabsane yiche moni mitatono kola shirabsane ye age mi chatono chi tinela chi.
Okay, so we can talking about wisdom, Shira, that supreme consciousness. So we can explain in two ways, or we can see in two ways, either from the side of the object, either from the side of the subject, or the mind who perceives that object, right? So when you are talking about the object, so when we that mind that it's really like focus in the object, and in order to criticize, to investigate, to analyze the nature of the object. So this is from the side of the object, and not only that. For example, you know that also all the kinds of minds, all the consciousness, we can also understand from the primordial mind and from the secondary minds, right? The main minds and the secondary minds. All consciousness, they have these two sort of parts as being a consciousness, right? And so the main mind, so we have lots of long list of main minds, but first of all, like talking about the secondary minds, maybe some of you already study that we have like thousands of main secondary minds, but if you condense, we can even say about the 51 mental factors or 51 secondary minds. But talking about the main minds, so also we have lots of ways to understand and to check the main minds because of the functions, but also we have the very condensed presentation of the main minds. We have the six right? The seven main consciousness, and among the seven main consciousness, so we have those valid and non-valid consciousness, and among those valid consciousness, those main minds that can really realize the object. So we have those minds that can realize the object directly or through an inferential, so through a correct sign that can give rise to that inferential cognition. And not only that, so we have all the non-valid cognitions, non-valid minds, for example, the wrong mind, the mistaken mind, and then the, how to say, the appearance, not a certain mind, and so forth. And so we have all of these, and also the doubt mind, and so forth. But talking about like the two main minds, the main valid minds. So we have the direct and indirect, or the inferential cognition, right? And so these two minds actually they really realize the objects, and when you realize the objects, it's because you can understand properly the object, and when you can understand properly the object, you use that mental factor that is supreme, that is the cognition, the cognizer, the supreme cognizer part of the main mind, that we call one of the secondary minds, that we call wisdom. That's why the wisdom is the mind that is supreme, that can check all the objects and is present in those valid minds.
아니 시라고 나자 아니 또도 그래서 제서더니 인자 용 이에 타서 이 용다 받은 징계 이미잖니 용 시라서니 이 연체도 있잖아요 시바고로야 시라서니 민다도 시어서 다시 제시적도 시어서.
So, and this we are talking about like from the aspect of the subject or the mind who realize an object or something like that. But when you're talking only about the subject, only about the object. What is the object? So anything that exists and has to have something that realize that object. Right. So object is everything that exists, and so everything that exists has like diverse in subtleties, right? Like from the gross objects until the very, very subtle object. And one of the most subtle, or the subtlest thing that exists, that's something that exists, it's very subtle for us to understand, is the emptiness. Like is that concept of emptiness, the reality of emptiness. And in order to really understand this emptiness of the reality of everything exists in empty way and so forth, these also the mind that perceives this also is super subtle, and also is we present as wisdom, because it's a wisdom that realizes that very subtle object.
karanda chuchoyo ay na yang mashi bi chenji mashi bi on the sone tanji te la moni ni dime te sa tamje yong yo les chezo tene mashi ba de sever chenge ge nyembo tabla yashe de shira imba sonza tabla na me ba de shira imba sonza ani jere mo chi yo kharazana 다 딜라라 민저 전체세라 갑지죠 스비소 조바 마니비 디치 텐데도 베탈람바스 코알라 니버는 조와다 아니 전체 생각 봐서 니 같이 무게 같이 제와이나 타르티나 아니 토마미 토니도 비시라 딜마토 아이나 스바 조 스바티 콜발 코르칭 게 사와티 나요 쳐도 말았어 제가 드니 임바선자 시르자도 아니 시러티가 또버치지 템데가 나자다 야부지 시토고 그래서니 아니 시러 손도지니 니자마지 아니 개치고 임바드나 소요레스.
And because all of our problems, actually, we have problems in our daily life, but it's just out of our own misunderstanding. We don't understand where, how things exist and so forth. That's why we create and we experience our problems. So just like Lamdron Kappa said, right, in the three principles aspects of the path, that is, if you do have the wisdom realizing the ultimate nature, even if you gain familiarity with renunciation and awakening mind, bodhicitta, you're not able to cut the root of samsaric existence, the existence in suffering, suffering nature. So strive in the means to realize independent origination. Why is that? Because actually, if you don't really cultivate that that wisdom, that mind, that realize the reality, realize how things actually exist in an interdependent way and so forth, you not be able to really cut the root of our problems or what creates our problems in our daily life.
오체서더니 저 단다디게 찌디게 놀라 넬리 또비 시람 마데나 자데 넬리테 따로 돈니토베 또 넬리테 아니 돈니로레스 또비 시람 마데산 텐데노 넬리테 똥케게 시르테 메나스 메소에나 아니 니버는 전에 고알라 니버는 전에 고알라 등문도 tramun도 다 그러나 등아 가시면 가세 녀네데 딜리 녀아텔이야 니버는 전에 딜리야 탈고온도 산에 바텔이야 니버는 전에 탈리아이 치서 타리부 같이 제와이나요 도르다나 탈티 대와다 탈티 탈바테 니투고 말해서 다 텔라야 탈티 대와티 가네치니 니고르스니 세 니저 천지살아 감제서 니버는 전 고알라 니버는 좋아 델레 도데 아니 심제 담자라면 장점이 센다 뉴지도 같이 찌대야나 탈때 대왕문이더라도 그래서나라도 말해 이나 내가 그 대바라겠어 이나 다 탈때 대와 문이더라 제발 스비짜와 마리바 메시바 티짜메 동거에서 티짜메 동거 아니 야셔다서 아니 여 동반에 대동의 시럽대 이버도 지라치고 그래서 최소 대인자 아니 아닐리 동 무요 니선 닐리 동반에도 데이터가 시럽들이야 아니 게티나 배서체고래 데리아 아니 서로 통고래 세네니 디잡션이 소자레스.
So when we talk here in this verse, right? So when we talk about wisdom realizing ultimate nature, first of all, what means ultimate nature? How to understand this? Ultimate nature of everything that exists is emptiness, right? That everything exists in an empty way and so forth. And there is one specification of what means empty way, right? And so the ultimate nature means emptiness. And so the wisdom realizing emptiness. So in order to really understand how things exist, how even like this samsara, all of or this kind of existence in suffering. So this existence in suffering just come from one ignorance of how things really exist, because we don't understand that everything is interdependent, is empty of existing by its own side and so forth. Because we don't understand this, then problems, we create problems and so forth. But if you really cultivate this again and again, and you really habituate yourself and try to understand little bit day by day and so forth, what really is the ultimate nature, like, it's crucial to understand. If you really want to get rid of your problems, it's crucial to cultivate understanding or how things really exist interdependent way, in empty way. Of course, like if you don't have this this wisdom, this mind that realize emptiness, that realize the ultimate nature of everything, of course it's not that, oh, I cannot be happy because of this, but it's just a temporary happiness. It's just like from now, just a temporary happiness. But if you really want to achieve that state that is completely free of any kind of suffering, any stain of suffering, and so forth, then yes, you do have to cultivate that mind of understanding the ultimate nature.
Geshe karala teni yungo razadi mashipa norwa cherwa tanjino teni dinga de yungo yoras. Perna tanjino mashipa ton cherwa norwa de sola teni dinga de yungo yowati mashine. Angaso teni dinga honga roja yoras. Karsun norwa ton cherwa tani teni noji chena dinga yungo re sambate shisoina maso dinga navyo romaras. Ti mashi chene maso 아니 마신이 뭐니 니딩에 들어오시게 용돼요. 제가 tin데 마용을 그 털로 야셔도 다 싫어 사대니 런jel에 지어야 더 싫어 사대 아니 간데지가 루지라 뭔지 제거하면 뜻존도 지나 하고서에는 아니 dinge 세와가 털라나메 받 싫어인자 아니 dinge 세와라 비도 치매요.
Because our unsatisfaction, our suffering, pain, and so forth, they all come from causes and conditions, right? And what are these causes and conditions? Mainly is the non-understanding of the reality. Mainly is the non-understanding of not just the reality, but not understanding of some situation. If you don't understand that situation, so of course we misunderstand, we confuse, we mistake the reality of that situation, and then all problems come. So for this reason, so if the reason is the ignorance, the non-understanding, or the wrong understanding, so what we have to do is cultivate the antidote, to cultivate the opposite of that, which is the understanding. So the understanding of that situation, understanding of that knowledge that you are missing, or the understanding in ultimate level of the nature, the actually nature of the reality with everything that exists, which is interdependent or which is empty. Everything is empty. That's why I keep saying here that if you have more discriminative wisdom, and so we can reduce definitely our problems.
그래서 당시 등은 이어서 가셔서 마신병원도 전에 조여셔라서 그래서 드니니 당아서 드니노데 마용하지 봐라 시럽사데 간지처럼 먼저 제거하면 시럽티 갈래 도저야 강에 세고하면서 드니 가서 저거 틀리지는 가서 넘어서 저거 틀리지네요. 그렇죠라 틀리지나스.
Okay, and so because and so just like we are saying, so our problems, difficulties, and so forth, and not only that, what are our mental and emotional problems and difficulties? Also, we create jealousy all the time. We are angry, or we have that, so we're proud, and so we have all of these mental diseases or difficulties, emotional difficulties, that everything comes from not understanding one situation. So for this reason, to really understand the situation, to really cultivate that mind that understands things and understand the situation, understand the ultimate nature, is very beneficial. So that's what I wanted to tell you, just like in a very brief way. And I really and now I want to open for questions for you. Then we carry on the topic that I wish to talk to you, but through your questions. Questions? No?
맨은 삐지 열매 치시라.
아니 가상지 건설치와 양다.
삐는 노시 삐는 노. 맞소 니로 삐는 계속 지마케드니 그니 심진도 문도 좀 맞소 제노체서 동지서로 저기 답변은 안 되니라 오셔라. 만 랑과지는 만들어 되지. 아니 랑과를 만들어 되고서 아니 탁바더니 전도 시트소나 세블 마트라시비치네 단디 전도 삼비 삼롱지 레기라 봐. 얘나 무인의 서로티 탁발에마도 줄말
Mhm.
얘나 때 줄엔도 선에 짜니 바시노 지자데 그래서는 kum 파기데 탁바이마 마시 때라 몽손이 코 짜서 Teni ti trapi jit tela teni ani su tra chena cheni mondene chandwa ti karazan je mashi be hon cheni chengso as. Ti do chiba chi chen shanda mashi ba chason ten noji ani jongo yodes.
For example, okay, while we don't have questions, and so maybe
So
for
you
us to
can
see ourselves.
No. So you can touch and see the question.
Okay,
If there is, touch the screen.
and then
Then you don't touch the.
okay, and then so for example, talking about like how to we can solve our one problem just by understanding, just by having like that wisdom or the knowing situation. So for example, if you're walking in a dark path, right, in a dark street, and then because of the darkness, so we see something like, how to say, like if you just see sort of one something like that, road like that, and then we immediately create that fear because we think it's a snake, right? And so that fear is our problem. That fear is our suffering, right? It's our unsatisfaction condition. And then, and actually, it's not a snake. It's just a rope, right? But because we don't see clearly, everything's dark, you don't see clearly, then we create that thing that we thought it's a snake, it was just a rope, but we think it is a snake. So because of not understanding the clear situation, the reality that is just a rope in a dark room or dark street, and so we make our own problems. So this is the way that how our problems exist. So because we don't understand that thing, the reality, we create the thing or one mistaken appearance that will bring us suffering. Okay, it's just an example. Yes, Guilherme. Now you can open your
mic. That's okay?
Yes.
Tá bom. Vou fazer em português porque aí você vai ter a possibilidade de traduzir em inglês e traduzir também em tibetano. Lindo. Maravilha, monge. Obrigado aqui por essa oportunidade.
I'm gonna ask in Portuguese, but I'm gonna translate.
Bom, a pergunta é, na verdade, para a gente chegar a essa mente, digamos, da sabedoria e ter esse desenvolvimento da sabedoria, se além do cultivo da bodhicitta e da experiência na vacuidade através da meditação, se há alguma outra forma que ele considera que seja auspiciosa para a gente chegar nesses estados que estão sendo comentados. E muito obrigado mais uma vez, Tashi.
Posso te perguntar em inglês, né?
Claro.
The way, so just to understand your question, so if in order to achieve this level of consciousness, if just cultivating in emptiness and in bodhicitta is enough, or we have to cultivate any other thing? It's like that, to have this kind of proper understanding. Is like that?
Right. That's it. Exactly. Thank you very much.
So somebody nelukra nelutartu selamido daneluk pitapo so selo selkan hakwe chidura ni pardu ani to ni gomgiore tan tekshin sem kiran gura ke gore mato derishinda tapshi yore base nelutartu toba labdurap sara ina chirtan nelugra namgyum chidege ani tan ani
Tati tomanya tobar chebarla ngaso pipe momochi shagiyorwa tomar gamdandela pena muiji chedin zimbi konsala muiji cheno anoje muiji chin baresa nzane ani kapcho telendone ani sibjegi dinga momochi nyonde yorwa nyoyora taludini yorwa tinoje ani muiji 무지자는 천라원로 지통도 천라원로 무반도시 타기도
알레 미교 오케이
근데 심지어도 들었다냐 파기 천도 선에 다 천도 선에 문천네 천통도 삼바지네 봐 다른 걸 받으니까 론론로 지나 다 파기 대체 말아 천대요 뭐체서 인자 무지천 잠만오지 아니 가서 요 답에 내리 많이 봐 Yota Benelli Mai Bachila Tenetrin. That in Lelashu, Jim Pidender, Pena Jimankidinido, Min the Shano Samu Strune, and he meets the Kebas of Tabne, Pa Tenichin, Jatunido, Jimaki. The nigga Jimanke, the Masopata with the Muni Matoyo, but the say was a Tenichin, Susan Shano. Yena, Muni let Kotitoyo and Shigi Maris. Cheso Mazola, no, Noji, Paki Yirkitor, Yoreves and Yomaris. Cheso Tinoji, Mazo Chukarina, Maso Noji, Yomaran, Zimachanjan on the hours. Cheso Tanin, the Tanika Pig Tony, Lari Tony. Oh, Pete hadn't know, Pete saw any solo tongue Tongine, any Anilumuni the Toalea, any Cheperchivana, and in Elumuni the Toalea. No money, Tanino, urgent in the IRS.
Okay, so first of all, when you're looking to achieve that understanding of the reality, the actual level of the reality, right? Yes, what you can cultivate, you can get familiarized, is to see everything as a mirage. So, for example, when like when you see a mirage, when you see from far, and then because of the heat of the sand and so forth, and so you understand there is you think that there is water there, but actually this is just a mirage. Or just like when the magicians, because of the mantras and so forth, he creates an appearance of a monster or something like that. And then just by looking at that appearance at that monster, so you become completely frightful, right? But actually the monster doesn't exist. Likewise, the mirage also doesn't, the mirage of a water, so the lake of the water also doesn't exist. Likewise, everything doesn't matter if it's just the ultimate level, ultimate nature of all the reality, also our problems in the mundane level and so forth. Everything actually relies in more like the understanding of how things actually exist, is opposite to what we perceive or is opposite to what is perceived by us. Usually we say it appears to us, but actually it's perceived by us in a non-concordant way to the way, the nature that actually things exist. So this cultivation is important.
Maribata Choto, Chesa Tini Mata is a Tini no the Chumatana Tabatato, Tabatato is a Tia Chobachi, Anitoya Shadi, Shiram, Tomani, Todameto, Shira Tisa, telling about the goals. The Nikamansonayo Tabatato Maris, Perna Chachi, Jamso Perilum, Pernin Dorje Bala, Japani, Chopani Jaguar, Chopaching, Parin Porto, Montinuji. Comparing Dorje Bala, and Nichago, Son Giverche Bala in a Tarbata, Tasson Giverche Bala, and Chopanicha Gores, and the Tanda Shiramicha, Chancery Seo Gora, Tonita Bishira.
And then you also asked Guilherme about if it's important to cultivate in both, right? In emptiness and also in bodhicitta, right? Well, first of all, you have to understand that it's important for us to reflect that either both, either emptiness and either bodhicitta, the lack of these minds in our continue is out of our own ignorance, right? And so out of our own ignorance, we still cannot give rise to these higher minds. Of course, it's not just because it already rose in your continue that you don't have ignorance, but it's because of this ignorance that you cannot cultivate these two higher minds. And so actually, it's very important to get rid first of these gross levels of non-understanding, of ignorances, okay, and then you finally can achieve these two higher states of mind. That's one thing. And the other is, well, usually these two wings, let's say like that, like bodhicitta and the correct understanding of emptiness, are the two wings or the two main tools for us to reach the other side of the river. Which river? Of the suffering river. And so what is the other side? Is that level of higher peace, higher happiness, which is Buddhahood. Not only this, of course, this is, you just achieve that state in order to be of benefit for others, but in order to attain Buddhahood, not only that state of lack of suffering, but in order to attain Buddhahood, then you really need these two wings, that is method, the compassion and bodhicitta side, and wisdom, the wisdom actually realizing the ultimate nature of phenomena or emptiness. Okay. There is someone else with question here. We have some few questions that we received before, but if you want to make them.
So, what is the difference between Sherab, which I think is translated as wisdom, and Geshe, which I think is translated as primordial wisdom? So, Geshe, Sherab, Kakakai.
Geshe Sherab la Chavargarias. Geshe Sherala and Masone Nerva. Sherab Zana Chatodo Lega, Kuru, Sherab, Kuru Kandishiras and Masuluri, Navajana, Semjon. In a Semjo Mapchamachu, and Shirol Mandavachikari, Royal Cheberchak. Royal Cheber, Royan, the Dream, Remaras and Navzanja, Cheberchak, Rujindo. One thing of that Shiro. Shenda Pena, me Mushino, the Toyna, the Carpus Tona, the carbon tonde at the matter, the Carbo the Jacarlatini Chonre, the Carbo the Kandi Zore, the Candichini Chonre, Tiniganaja the Coron tonde at Chibumado, Carbocacha Oros in tonde at the mother, the Jolo Cheberche, the Yomer. Shiram Rosin and then Thomas and the Jet of Gelatin, Chonra, Chonto Candichin Chonra, Montenegro Jag, Chile Muxia. Just a third in that Shiro Theodore. The Yeshi let it, Yeshi let it, Masata Namji, Yeshi let it, Masu Chimbi Yeshi della, Shiro Chaying, Shiro Chamaing, Nigayos. Yeshi did this chair. Yeshila Shira Mikawa, so the Yorba, Sunjo Mind Yeshiko.
So, what is the difference between Sherab and primordial wisdom that you asked, right? So, Sherab, when you're talking about Sherab, when we understand wisdom, when we understand consciousness in these two parts, like the main in consciousness, so there's the main part of the mind and the secondary part of the mind, or the mental factors. So, Sherab is wisdom. So wisdom is one secondary mind or one mental factor, just like we said before. So one consciousness, they have the primary, the main mind with some specific functions. And one of the functions of the main mind is to check, to analyze how is that object, is white, is green, is good, is bad, and so forth. This discriminative, this checking part, the checking function of that mind, this is thanks to the mental factor of the secondary mind. In this case, the secondary mind with this specific function that calls wisdom. Okay, and so when talking about wisdom, is that mind that checks. For example, let's say that we are talking when we are observing this cup here, like this green cup or white cup here, and so the consciousness, the eye consciousness that perceives that whitish cup in front of us, just perceive the whitish cup in front of us. This is the main mind. But together with the main mind, there are some different functions. And together with that eye consciousness that perceives the white cup in front of us, together immediately, oh, it's not white, it's not green, oh, it's not big, and so forth and so forth. So it's checking. This checking process is thanks to the secondary mind or mental factor calls wisdom. Okay, calls wisdom. But so this is wisdom. So it's a secondary mind. It's mainly like that gives that function of analyzing, of an analytical process to the main mind. Okay, this is one thing. And the second, like the primary mind, not necessarily all primary mind are wisdom. So there are also some primordial minds that are not, they place their attention, the mind, in the object in a very stable way, but it's not analyzing, it's not checking. So in that moment, that primordial mind is not wisdom. Okay, and there are also others, primordial mind, that is checking objects. And so the wisdom is more capture is wider, and the primordial mind is not so fast. It's easier in Tibetan many times.
So also, can I say in Tibetan then?
Okay.
Shirap tan topa also mushi gelwa tamsi.
Shirap to topa la moso musinga. Tite mujia. Shirap yena topa ime chamare. Pena sonji babi ji shirap tamsi chasu moso to siti yorwa. Yorwa ta to into shirap yena ridu mataba to shirap. Ta mataba to shirap to sunchi de jala yorwa. 모서도 답이 원데서 탐지 가라서는 시라고 그래 그래서는 모서 얘나요 다 단다 시라도 많이 모서 무슨 저번도 또반이라고 봐 또반이나 요 시라 많이 미쳐야 말이야 맞다부터 시라 그냥 드라마부터 비지바 뭐지 시라고 지어줘 봐 드라마부터 깨지게 저런도 되게 아니 모서고 맞도 왔지 따라더니 또 내가 시라고 지어줘 봐 드라마부터 वो तनी नोती कर रहा है यो शीर वाले जन रहे इन मौसम रहे जन मारे तो पारे रुआ तादी तो पाएंगे मौसम आएंगे तरह से ता शीर दो
मेरे तो पाएंगे ना शीर बिंगे दी निका इंगे
शीर बिंगे तो पाएंगे तरह से ता
निका
तो पाएंगे शीर बिंगे मौसम तो साथ ही दे
아니 topa 인켄시랑 마인켄죠.
말해 topa도 싫은 일 무슨 무슨 그렇게 봐요라 봐라. 다 topa이라 싫은 일 topa 마인게데 샤세서. 다 네가 얘기도 하더라. 다마타도 싫은 데서 그래서 싫어 요래 topa요래. 다 topa이나 싫어임이 맞좀 깊이 먹어요. 다마타도 또 내게 다마타도 또 되게 수습되는 요라. 수게 셈 셈죠 말아. 싫어라 셈죠 있고 수생 뭐 비담마다 봐도비 아니 이지 시바지 여러분 뭔티 그러잖아 그러잖아 똑바래 얘나 싫어를 해서는 말해
남톡 상니 똑바래 싫어 말이야
남톡 소가다 남톡가 똑바이 미쳐 단다 똑마 똑바자네 남톡 소마래 남톡 담모치야 똑바래 얘나 담 똑바이라 싫어 많이 기시하고 이 수생 뭐 저기 똑바다 샤샤는 그래서 싫어 차야 말 싫어 많이 그 주세요. 주세도 semjo인가 봐. 뭔디서 티샤샤는 거.
Okay. So the question so the question was
좋아요.
very good question. So the question was okay, so wisdom and conceptual mind. How many possibilities usually, but what that means? So between wisdom and conceptual minds, how many common factors or common examples we can posit? And so we can posit like at least 4 levels of common basis, which is like that. So for example, something that is wisdom and is not conceptual mind is the consciousness of a Buddha, because the Buddha can understand, can perceive everything, so can analyze and can perceive everything, but in a completely direct way, without using inferential cognition and so forth. Okay, something that is both. So either, so the third, right? So something that is even a conceptual mind and even wisdom is that inferential cognition that understand that, for example, the sound is impermanent. Like now we cannot understand directly that sound is impermanent. We have to use correct signs in order to understand that sound is impermanent, right? To have the correct understanding, the valid inferential cognition to understand that sound is impermanent and so forth. So this is both. It's either wisdom, either a conceptual mind. One conceptual mind that is not wisdom, easily way, like all of our ruminating thoughts. All the ruminating thoughts are just conceptual mind, just thoughts, but are zero not zero. Some of them, they have like a little bit of part of analytical, crucial, but most of them, they are not wisdom, okay? Or also, for example, the understanding that sound is impermanent, but using our mental direct mind, not using the inferential mind. So it's like that. And the fourth possibility is something that is not mind and so forth. He didn't say, but it's just, and very good question. Okay, more questions? Dana? Here there is one question. How to see? Could you repeat a question? Sorry, Guilherme. Which question?
No problem, was in the Tibetan, but you did this.
Okay, translated. Okay. Ani namkyo ani takjishi gishera titwa. Ani chope sherap chepe sherap tang sherap chepe sherap tang sherap nika kepariyotami.
Chepe sherap de sherap ni chibare.
Chipare. That's all the chibati.
Chepe sherap de chegar chepe de sherap de sherap koro chepe chepe. Sherap la chepe chenge jima de chepe machine de de sherap mar de ngi choma chepe. Shiba janda de chepe chana. Ya to anu je de jina. Ko ye to sa ma sa tala ta che chenge. Che sa ta chepe chenge na chibara. Ye to sa ma. Ta chegar chenge la rini wa ta. Sim chepe chenge chepe chora. Sherap ma ni. Suze chepe chenge. De sherap uchare.
Okay, and also we received a few questions here, and so we are thinking in responding these questions. If you don't have more, but we prefer to have all of you now, so after we can reply. But also there was some question that every wisdom is always discriminative wisdom, like discriminative or discerning. Discerning wisdom, yes, it's always discerning, because actually this is the function of a wisdom. So the wisdom is that part of the mind that analyzes, that check, that discerns what is good or what is not good, if it's white, if it's whatever. So anything that we are checking, what we are checking, so that analytical process is due to the wisdom. So wisdom and discerning mind is exactly the same. But what he said is also that there is some main minds, because the wisdom is the secondary mind, right? That brings that function of analyzing things, right? But there is some main minds that they themselves sort of they present a function nearly to be analytical. So sort of that mind is checking already the object, but it's not the wisdom. It's the one of the part or one side of the main mind. And so also this can be possible, he said.
Shirab dang sonda su sosa bijola. Jebar che dewa, shirab tanyam da lega chibi chichi che dewa. Shirab jebar che na shiko jebar che dewa. Yina ko shirab chaga mara, shirab cha ma chaga garazana, ko shirab semjo chaga mara. Ko shirab semjo dara mara. Yina lega shirab tanyam da chibi chichi che dewa. Chasu tenda yinza, sonsente, shirab dang sonda su sonsente, nikarazana, jebar che de di shirab maras. Shirab la jebar che ya chagas.
So when we have so we have our consciousness here, right? So the consciousness is presented to like the main mind. So if it's a visual mind, so the visual consciousness is the main mind, and the visual consciousness also check and have emotions and so forth, right? So that consciousness is together, is sort of surrounded by the functions, the secondary minds. That all of the secondary minds, they bring the different functions. So one of the functions of that main mind is the analytical part. So that analytical part of a main mind is the wisdom. So the main wisdom, the wisdom definitely is a secondary mind, and is is a discerning mind, brings that discerning characteristic, but not necessarily just because it's discerning characteristics that is a secondary mind, because also there is some main minds that they have the skill, the ability to analyze also the object. Okay, more questions? Do you have? Okay, at home? So we had more questions here. About the discipline, so the ethical, the moral conduct. The moral conduct, what is the relationship with our liberation? So the liberation and moral ethic, what is the relationship about this? 아니 수진라, 수진디 tarpa 제와카리 수진, 수진 단 tarpa, tarpani 제와카리 유메스, tarpa 도아라 수진 슈킨 베르.
탈바도 스런 내가 가려 자대라. 어쨌든 탈바 타버지 봐라. 니 제노시나 다 스러자. 저도 스러자 된 된로지와도 지바선 소바지 차대요래. 제 넘버 타바시래. 얘나 스러 좀 봐서 대지 집을 전시 좀 봐가서 전시세 가운데에 두 뉴지도 전시세라. 단다 스러 손대는 고알은 이번 전에 아니 고알은 이번 전에 고알을 쫀다 돈에 아니다. 먼저 저 담시 송을 집에나 스러는데 그러봐. 그래서 되니 니 스러져야 되고 송아 잠기가 저도 된루지야도 아니 미 공부 타와라 스러기 지차이래. 얘나 탈바도 담신 집에 타발아요. 지차이래서는 지차이래 되나요. 디 쫑박 탈바도 그래서는 더 말아 들려 줘요. 도문단이도 비시라도 다음에도 비시라도 돈이도 비시라 니버도 고. 근데는 시야대 콜라 쪼더니 무슨 소바지메이나 탈바타도 말 담신제 맡아도 말 얘나 내가 그 대화 못 받아도 그랬어. 내가 그 대화 못 받아도 그래. 뭐 들리는 거지. 근데 비드 시가 베르남 베르나지.
If the person who asked the question wants also to add more question that is online, then you can also open your mic. Anyway, so what was the question, right? About what's the name? The discipline or the ethic conduct, together with what's the relationship with liberation, right? So, well, yes, sort of. If you really live if you can protect a code of discipline, or if you can protect that very pure attitudes and so forth, definitely you can achieve in the future a liberation in a very complete state. So the result is going to be much more powerful and much more pure, let's say like that. Of course, it's not just by protecting the vows or just by merely like having a moral conduct, pure moral conduct, that you achieve liberation. Of course, that's not the case, but has a very important role in the process of achieving liberation. When we talk about achieving liberation, just one parenthesis, is liberation of that bad mental states of the suffering, right? And so how to achieve the state of happiness, right? This is the liberation. And then so of course, in order to achieve liberation, so what we have to contemplate definitely is at least is the selflessness. So the selflessness of individuals. So if you understand how is selflessness of individuals and so forth, so because this is the root, the understanding of self, the selflessness of individuals, this is the root of getting rid of all of our afflictions and problems. Why? Because the root of our problems is that we understand things as solid and so forth. So when you understand selflessness of individuals, and so you can get liberated. But if you don't have a very correct lifestyle or conduct and so forth, first of all, you not be able to achieve that. And second, in order to achieve a proper state of liberation, you need this the moral conduct, to live in a moral conduct. For example,
Perna Nurinoshire, Meto Noshi Tawa in Narva, Metoti la Metochi Chibala, Sapota Tunu, Travaje, Metoti. Yenayo, Sapoti, Watsamika Kro, Metoti Loma Jivan Jibumama Mito Japatandi Yoto Mare. 티 영어치 발라 탑카르고르 트롤로데 카르고르 사고르 치고르 러고르 데서 탐 치초이토니 미토데 야기샤이고 티노제 와서 탐신제 바 타버치바 라용 아니 이제 하나 맞서 스트랑성 tani 너치야 잠지가 용 탐지 타르바 탐투르잖아 탐투 말해 단다 때리야 조 다음에 또 비시는다 아니 돈이 또 비시를 나서 바가바이나 tani 조 tani 너 비창진 스트랑성 바텔이야 조 다음에 또 비시는다 돈이 또 비시를 나서 제 tani 제소에는 고 다가론다 타버도 탐지지바 탐로 그러나 미도가 사보다라 사도 체도 러도 좀 tre서나 아니 고글리글리글리시니 미도제네 아니 이제 보면 뭐도 만들다 치과랬어.
Just like if you really want a nice garden, so you have to prepare that soil, right? And it's not just by planting the seed that the flowers will come up, right? It's not like that. You really have to prepare the proper soil together with the fertilizers and the water and the sun and so forth. All of these external conditions or auxiliary conditions are really necessary in order to that seed give rise to the sprout and then to the flower. Likewise, if you really want to have as a result, just like the flower is a result, so it's not just by planting the seed, which is a substantial cause, but also you need some external important conditions. And one of these important conditions is to have a life in an ethical pattern. Okay, another question from the same person is talking about repentance or also arrependimento, como fala em inglês? To regret. Yes, and so talking about regret. So how? Yes, thank you. Yes. So how to is for the regret and how to cultivate regret properly without falling in a lot of suffering or unhealthy guilt about, for example, accidentally killing animals and eating animal products and so forth.
티 그런 요바찌야 그런 zo야자데 마시비모 지네 zo자죠. 마시비모. 뭐니 싫어 용계시는 요바찌야서 말아. 싫음 되게 원한다서. 얘는 요바찌야 zo세 지글에 yon 노르 요바찌 고하신 노르와질레 때는 요바찌요. 타티는 노르와티 라테는 요바찌요에서 테네도 요바찌 고하티 노르와탈라야. 아니 논트 요르선 집안 두도 문도스 만 조반들이 지고 지양이 우서서다 다테네 너 조바치고 가셔다라 조 데다 많이 봐 테네 너 조바티 찌니 데데레 테네 너 조바치야테 마용아가 질 솔로타네 마음반드니 너 조바치야가 제다라 아니 솔로타네 테네 그 마와 노라이마 트라이마 티하고네 텔리아 마요아 탑로 까와이나 요바치 거 자완도 줘봐 데레리아 마사이나 아니 론지 요바치가 강에도 줄여도 그래서
well, when we regret, actually we regret because we didn't have that understanding, the proper understanding. Out of our ignorance, we fall to mistakes and so forth, right? So if you had the understanding, the proper understanding how everything works, so definitely we would not even make mistakes, right? So in general, like talking about falling to mistakes out of our ignorance and so forth. And so when we see that actually we fall to mistake, we fall in mistakes out of our ignorance. So first of all is to recognize it was out of my own ignorance, like the non-understanding of how things exist and so forth. That's why I fall to that mistake. And then when, first of all, recognize the mistake. Second is, okay, so this was a mistake that was not nice. And so I don't want to do this again. So that regret in the sense of recognizing that was not good and then I cannot do it again. I don't have to. I shouldn't do this again in order to avoid problems and so forth. And so actually the regret process is to recognize out of our own ignorance that we fault to mistake. And then in order to avoid again these mistakes, we have to cultivate the wisdom in order to not have again that ignorance in that topic, and then that wish to not mistake again. Actually, that's very good. Like, is in order to avoid even more suffering that you regret, and you don't fall to even more sufferings just because you are regretting. For example,
다디 도지 팔아도 소샤게 파사 침보지 다디 싸 침보지 마치 못 싸 침보지 마치 하종으로 도저 살도르니 차소이나 노르니 차소라 쇼르니 차소라 드니 콘조바끼니 당아 못 싸와 침보지 차소 산이 등에 첸데발레 체데바이나 디모트 등에 같이 첸나 모드 실레 요르비 레 요마르 바체서 딘딘도 그 등에 제대발이 딘딘도 그 등에 그 jet다 갑자기 잠바지가 저토나 빼어요. 빼나 견지지 모르는데 이제 성사야. 그때 주세요는 대라면 같이. 그때 주세면은 대라가 같이 배사죠. 디노지를 그때 등에 제제제는 정대 가는 정대 가는. 근데 디와지도 쭈부지 연구는 다 지는 그래. 빼나 수수 빨라 빈잔도 지정서 시소에는 다시서 다가 빼래선 등에지는 콜 페이마라 수수를 페이마라 조대를 노래를 까면은 달래 다 콘시안이 시서를 달래 마론 조대하고 시 마로 ዝ고 대던지 아니 갑자기 로가질 소리도 존대도 빠살로마다 딜라 손자요 말아 이때지 존지고 놓습니다 제가 대인이 갑자기 전다질 존이 대인도 갑자기 전다질 저야 돼 계시셔다. 콜 섬제지 강해지는 콜라선 지도라야. 런신 설레원이 지어마라. 아마도 시소나. 아니 가서 섬제지는 수수로 노르마도. 콜 시설은 로서를 설레용아요. 제서 맨조지를 섬제지는 등에 전대와이나. 다 때문에 싫어고 만도. 자 싫어들이 배쳤던 거래가. 싫어 가르 배쳤던 거를 오 만든데 등에 전제 전대와이나 마로라 노르라. 아니 파셔달라는 배터고 말에. 제성들이 인자 마마로 람가시 한다지 다네. 영어 타바 람가시 다버체 발라. 아니 니토지도 싫은데 계속 네 람가야 봐야 돼.
Okay, for example, let's take this very, very super precious cup. Okay, so this very, very precious cup, and then I broke it. I broke it. So just because I broke this super, super special and expensive cup here, and then what I did, I can't believe that I did this. And then we create that guilt, right? No, I shouldn't have done this and so forth. Well, if just because of that, this is not regret, just because of that, you know, the guilty process that, I shouldn't have done this, I am very bad because I did this and so forth. And then you don't separate your mind from that action. Like, if actually just because of thinking all the time that I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done this, if just because of creating that thought and that that kind of thought, just because of this, that cup will again bring all together. If it's beneficial for this, then it's okay. Then you can regret, or you can just feel guilty, which is fine. But this doesn't exist, right? This doesn't happen. Just because you feel guilt because of one mistake that you did, that thing will not be fixed, right? So this is not beneficial at all. So actually, you shouldn't. Usually, we feel guilt when we don't understand that, well, because I broke that thing, but also we can just leave it. We don't understand this. We hold to that thing in the case of the cup, that the cup should be stable, should be always like that, beautifully and so forth. But we don't hold this. That's why we create that problems, because we hold as, I wanted that this doesn't break. This wouldn't have been broken. But so this kind of thoughts, this kind of attitude is wrong. On the other hand, what we should cultivate is, well, if I am worrying about how much to I'm feeling guilty and worry so much about that I broke that cup. Well, I'm gonna harm my health. I'm gonna not sleep and so forth, and the cup will not bring back, come back, right? So in this side, I think it is very good. For example, another example. Let's take like sometimes our relatives or our beloved passed away. So when they passed away, why not? So sometimes we feel so sad or so miserable or so guilty also for not being able to help and so forth. But then if that sensation of, why didn't it work? What I did wrong and so forth, if that thing, that we cultivate that, what I should have done different, so forth, that very worry would bring the relative back, then it's okay. You can worry the whole life. But just like in Bodhisattva's way of life of Shantideva said, if the problem has a solution, why to be unhappy? If the problem doesn't have solution, why to be unhappy? So that's the point, to be unhappy or to be worried and so forth. So that's the case. And so if you see that the situation has no way to be fixed again, so why just to worry so much? The worst thing is that we hold things, we want the things will be completely permanent, like they don't change, or we don't fall apart, or we don't break and so forth. That's the worst thing. So when the regret is when we hold to that thing to be permanent. Okay, and so just relax and just understand that if I'm feeling guilty, and so actually it's not beneficial for me, and even it's not beneficial for the person or for the thing that already killed or is already passed away or so forth to come back. So you have to think in that way. Okay.
All right. That 단단히 좋아지도 디 조바치야도 디도 되는 말로 무슨 존요가 뇽아지 시에로 니마 카바토모 카바 단조블리디고 카바토모 원고 따르다이고 카바티스 공부요가 스테소도 카바베무도 근데 그것은 나 카바서바지 뇽을 카바서바지 뇽이 이 카바르데 뇽이 다와치스 만로 차서다 아니 차네 니 차르데 나탄 조바페지야다 이 카바 차서 다 가르쳐 버려서는 샤다 민즈를 지워요. 그래서 깨지 않는다. 만 깨지 않는 그래서 말가라. 저 카바 차나 저지야 말했어. 니마지 저러 신도 버렸다. 쳤음들지 돼요. 그래서 그래서 말했다. 차요래라. 언디로 어쩌도 되긴. 문이라 스텔 간조지야. 단조지나 저 카바는 라요 말아. 차서로. 나서 온지 갈전 전화 toya Europa zo de chine troche dinga me baso te uti kangi jo bache me baso khacho tene tiat tele ya kar gondzen pe masana cho no chet pe ke chmora shas.
For example, I have my own example, my own experience of regretting, and such a stupid regretting. Usually the guilt is one stupid regret, isn't it? And so, for example, before there was not so many mobiles, right? Nowadays everyone has mobile, but in that moment that nobody had mobile, I mean, so just few of them, very new. I bought my own. Right? Okay, so it was very rare. Just me, just myself. I had mobile, and so at that moment, I bought my mobile, and after 1 month, I broke. Oh, I felt so bad. I really regret what I did. Well, how could I broke this mobile and so forth. I was really like feeling guilty. I didn't regret, like it was feeling really guilty. And then my classmate, he looked at me like, why are you like that? Like, why are you like feeling guilty, so stupid like that? Because just like this mobile, one day you also go. So what do you want, that this mobile be here forever for you? It's not like that. Not even you be here. Do you want the mobile will be here forever for you? In that moment, really, like I had a very good lesson. That is, yes, it's true. Like, why I'm so worried? Why I'm so worried if things are impermanent, or if things will naturally fall apart and so forth. So in that moment, I saw that that I was not using my discernment. I was not using my wisdom. If I use my wisdom, I look at that situation and see the correct side, the correct reality. And I was not looking at the correct reality. I was holding to be permanent. That's the reason that I was feeling guilt.
That's the thing.
Yes.
When is what is the mark that we achieve some stable understanding of wisdom, and then that after this we will not lose it again after, if we die and reborn again, so we can use this, so we will have the wisdom from the and in the next life, so it will not be lost.
When do you know that you have that stable wisdom, that you're not losing the next rebirth? The perna so toni sena mi dono so sherap chikra togoto gi sherap chikna so rangula ke kiena ni kyo ajema malanera o tanda sherap ti mone sherap topo rares perna toni topo loina raya mena sherap to disra so rangula ke pa khandes hakogire rangula ke ki tak res
Shirap Tumodane.
Shirap Topo, Rangula Kipe, Tak Yuta Mes, Perna, Shirap To, Chita Sharamare, Shirap Kitopo, Chichanani to Nito Pelo la Sopadua, to Nito Pelo di Shirapiras, Rangula Kiwe Kitak Careres. Ani Shirap Kiwajema, Somalaya.
Drop in a chumba, the Troya Wundra.
Very crucial, very crucial.
Tony to be Shiram, the Tony to be Shira Gilchi Manora.
But since, well, it's very important to mention this. But since I didn't cultivate, I didn't achieve the very high realization of good wisdoms and so forth. And so I don't know what are the signs. I just joking.
Tire, Matsunanjiro, Shonli, the zone of Sonja, the zone of Candace Songers and Nombu, Shon of Sonia, Nombuera, Nombu Shiro, Chimbu gets over Tomani to you go Sala and Ingino, the Tarno, and Italiomas, Taro, Savar Ton, Jipakoro, Nyolechet. Umurtubuzo, Yatomani to Casalities, Chimatsu Sator Pandun Mazano in Nambado. Ani man dinin roshan jingru le sano sheno to tano de yores jomuna tene sonsa to tendin drums ma de maro nyoa tani deni konji jemi just deni gondaro.
Well, I don't have any realization, so I never cultivate any high wisdom, so I don't know the signs. But at least what I read in the scriptures, the main text, is that, so to remember there are two kinds of beings, like the high realized beings. One, like they are very, very high, very, very intelligent and very high beings. But some, if you compare, one is a little bit more sharp, intelligent than the other. So the more sharp, the sharper, intelligent, higher being. So usually when they realize, for example, when they realize emptiness, it said that in the scripture said that they lost completely any kind of fear, any kind of panic, fear and doubt and so forth. They completely they eliminate this. So wherever they go, whatever they do and so forth, they have no fear at all. On the other hand, the other beings, higher beings, but if you compare, it's a little bit like less sharp than the other. They still have this a little bit of fear. So even if they do realize, for example, emptiness, they walk a little bit, sort of not drunk, but sort of with fear of slipping, because they understand the ultimate nature of the reality, that is not that solid as they can see and so forth. And then they fear a little bit of that things are not solid, so it's nothing exists. Even they realize, but they have some fears. And so these are two signs that they got that minds, but different signs that I read in the scriptures.
But that is Jephthah or Moshe, the Tonitope, the Jephthah, or the sign that you were talking, is directly realizing, also inferential.
Ani tanda tak de tsura tak de sorat na jang yula to tak ni do asani yamena cha yugyo cha megyura tak de so ani musun sema ke che yure besi yamena che pat sema ni ke pena che si
tame
chigona
tonya totolo dorwa
toni to pat samra
tonya to sai jigle tanda chi takar kari yore lai da ta unti teji dere tonya to na umuno ba su teji jeno da jino da chi tonya to sai umu to zo tonya to sai ni sator ba kama jendo na chi sa no no do chi jeno da ni no shegre tani song da yena tanda tonya to dire tanda dir kuma sa sama da jiba sama ke jeta so tonya ma to go tonya kande jine to go ra tonya ma to go tonya to ta ma so nam jiti la ba ni go shi je de me te te ne mi shi pena ma ye jimi ta ma je la go ra tira ta de ko ra me no me no no shi ji si ni shi la non di ta ta me no no shi ji si ni ta la te te de ita ita te mi to bi ta ji ko ni ta te la te ne jiba ji chi shan ju ti ge tonya to yo re de no mo so go to yo ma jiba to tenje ji ta ji ni ge de mer me ba to bi lu te ke gara sana jiba sama ba ta di tonya to yo re sana to re kar ta ji to ba re ta ti to bi jeral la ni ko le pe mun mo do go ra to mun ni ge tenje ba to tenje na de me bi cha ba to ni ge tenje de me bi cha ba to me no no chi ji zi ni ten to me no no chi ji zi ni di chi ji zi ni chi ji to no no ji ma de ba no ji ma so de ba cha ba no no ji de ba yo ma ra pe na kar zan ni ge de ba me ba no ji ni kar ni chi de me tenje mi ji tenje de me ma no ji tenje de ba ma no ji ko so e te ma me ra sa ni ta ma so me no no chi ji zi ni chi ji no no ji ma de ba no ji de ma no de yo de ma no no ji me ba de ji ba la te to yo ba ne te to ji
Acha kitu din sare ani jinse pape kansa pena ani pape kansa ni to yin suntora ani zolam kabla ni don chikyore to giresra o kansa dinika tagaran kilsi ani to yin to masros ngamcha ko tanda takpiras ta de zoni ke pariota me si na kran kitu din
tienje ta te na ra ma so to masala na ji go de ora pena de jawa ma ji ji timo mali ma ji ji timo mali bi timo wala di shi ji ma ta chan no ma ras ma ji ji jima ke ma ji ji mu la tem la tse ge ji ba timo wala timo wala no ta shi ba ni ga yo ras ni timo mali ke ta no ta shi ba ni ga yo ma re lo ba tino shi ta to ni tong ke di su su ju zo to ni to yo ma ba Tanya to me ze dema chaba la shia no ji dema chaba re sam gu yores. Dema chaba re sam gu yores. Ani tini papa dini so yo tonya to yore di. Tonya to na ya tanda karazan ko so la jeno ro ji. Ko to ya to dema me ba to de yore di na. Ko shimba di yores. Tan ni ga me ge te karazan sonji so to ma ni to me ko no ta shimba ni ga yo. Mo tini gi chaba cha.
Ma sono stati scenati ani musudo to per lo
ta pana
musudo ton chiede
ta papa sonji ta papa de so to ni musudo ton ke so no de je me ni ka me chi tani papa malen ke ani to ni to de ke so no to ma ni to re ti ji karo no de je me ni ka no to ni to re ti na ta de je me yo tan to ni ma to chuni ma to me to no de je me ni ga yo ma so do so demba traba no gora no jere so
so in brief is when you so there are three kinds of beings, right? Those beings that for example me I didn't still realize emptiness, for example, and so I didn't still realize emptiness, right? The second being is those beings, for example, before achieving the path of sin. So those sin that are not Arya beings, they already realize emptiness, but in an inferential cognition, using like many signs, as often than Geshe said, all the signs, but let's be brief. And so they use inferential cognition, they do realize emptiness, but not directly. And then when that being already can perceive directly emptiness. Directly emptiness means do understand, do cognize emptiness, but without relying in signs, like really experience it directly. So that beings from those beings that have the mind that is path of sin until Buddha, So those beings, they don't have the appearance that things exist truly, that things exist completely independently and truly by their own side, its own side. So this appearance, they don't have. These Arya beings, those Arya beings, those who understand emptiness directly, they don't have the appearance that things exist truly and inherently. And for this reason, they don't have also the fear and panic and so forth. Those, the second beings, those that do understand, do realize emptiness, but in an inferential cognition, they still have the appearance of things exist truly, that exist truly and exist inherently. But they, so they have that appearance, but they don't grasp their appearance because they already saw emptiness, not directly, but they already understood that actually this appearance is fake. It is false. So they don't believe in that appearance, and so they saw emptiness, but they still have fear. And those beings that they didn't realize emptiness, and so they either have appearance that things exist truly, and also they have the fear. Okay. Pingila menga dordu lai.
Tenzin 가서 듣자 말이. 근데 다른
벨라가.
내가 진짜 잘했어. 그래.
If you don't have more questions, I said that I condensed his answer. Okay. Do you have any questions? Then it's okay. Dana? Okay. Okay. For example, let me just, I think it was very, very important. For example, Geshe said, when we see...
Actually, Lamdron, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Oh, my question is that, actually, I know that some person, she has given me immense pain. And I know that sometimes I recollect that memory and it pains me a lot. I know that she had some mental problem and for that reason she had done this. And actually it was actually I took a room rent in her house for 6 years. And in that span of time, I have some good feelings and some bad feelings. But the bad feelings actually, they actually, nowadays also sometimes they come to me. But I know that many times I'm not being able to control my mind. I know that it's not good to say those things again, but I can't control my mind. Sometimes they are coming, and actually I feel that they actually they actually gives me immense pain, and they actually do bad vibration in my mind. And I want that they shouldn't come, but many of the times they are coming. And I know that, I mean, logic-wise, I know that it's not good. But sometimes it's coming towards me. Actually, it's actually 2-3 months old situation. And for 6 years, actually in Shanti Niketan, I have taken a room. And now I have come to some safe place. That is good. But sometimes, and it is not for the 30 days. Actually, I spent 4 or 5 days in month in this place. And it was remaining 6 years. And
so maybe how to
was,
counteract these bad thoughts? Do you want to ask like that?
Yeah, actually, I want to get rid of that bad emotions. Actually,
okay, how to get rid of these bad thoughts or bad feelings that you have, right?
Yes.
Oh, da tortulan da netang kyopochidu das gerishu chichi yushin para gerishu son chichi. Ine anda tortulana ni ko kurangi gyari gyasagi anche chigiri amena mi chigires yuri mukangin chigiri chichipe mara senamido da ducha dawani cheta cheyosari ani kadina kokulanga chena ani dungal gingirira di control siamido yamena da jamira nam toppe mampo layo serera ani kanta kandur dulana ani karsa kangil jumpedi tsera ganam to tang ani kangil daw kades sedu giris
강에 세더라. 다 근데 그 강에데 레오리 주시주 대시 콘도 마스피지 자만 조바치비 나사 지바라 타트니 강에서 조바치 강아래 베르나 단다 강에데 드니 그 강에 제리 강에 몸은염도 들고 그러와 그러와 그루 단다 강에 대해서 같이 찍으려는 거 드니도 강에 대해서 같이 되니 좋아로 시대sana 그루 핀자라 베르나 마초 저거 머리 코로나를 재미 강에 대해서 좋아 자 얘나 마초를 강에 대해서 마초 빠지am 아니 저런 조바지 데데야 말았어 뭐저 뭐 컨센트로 오지게 다 컨센트로 오지는 마초 머리가 어쩌래 모니터링 게 그게 컨센트 안 되는데 콘로 오지는 강에 가서 이제 그렇게 강에 머리도 저거 강에 얘나 단다 위니 또 찌네 모니터니 참도 뉴지도 저 소바파 달리네 파 참도 뉴지도 소바가네 노르드는 직대티 고라니 강에 요새도 동네치니 단다이나 모니터니 좀빌리디 고려야 니 콘사쇼서가 아지디가 모니터니 전에 요새 무지 차도 근데 차도하게 네도 짓도 찡가라티네서 콘사쇼가 번조 요타네 말에 미전도 맞아 지부 요타네 말에 얘는 콘사쇼가 넘쳐도 솔로 당도데 너무 성지비 정리니 시제니 그 강에 세도지가 대지 콘도 집안을 저렇게 주스나 때문에 그때 주스면은 따라더니 등에치는 다 맞서 좀 주모드네 지금 봐 너무 사도하는 지가 강에 지테문데 다들 등문도 전에 그러 빠져는 된데나 등한테 생도에서 좀 달리 철로서 때 아니면은 저같이 강에서 많이 연지었어 드네시니 강에서 단 돌다나 대지 그 강에 대려야 강에 대 마요가 털로 제야 계시잖아도 강에 드네진도 전에 샘대지네 돼야 돼 말이지 강에 마요가 털로 제야 계시잖아 계시죠 다 때려야 아니 털로도 간에지 제고 온다와 그것도 뛸다네 아니 맞아 털로지 제도에는 야셔내다 드네지 말이
Well, so just like we said before, so any kind of difficulty or suffering, so forth, we always have to use our understanding, our correct discernment, and so for example, never just because you're undergoing a not nice situation or a problem or offense and so forth, that you have to to be under that problem. Because if you just feel like overwhelmed or under that problem, like you never will be able to see to see from a wider perspective, right? So what you have to do is to separate. So let's say that you have this problem always with that situation or with that person and so forth. And so be a little bit far and see the situation from far, not like completely from near, like, oh, that's my problem, or that's the whole problem is just with me and so forth, because then you completely feel overwhelmed by that. So you have to step back a little bit, mainly mentally, okay, and then look at that problem just like from far, and then you can have more space mentally, more space to find more solutions, like not to be overwhelmed by your worries, anger, and resentment, and so forth. And then you have more time and more space to think, oh, so how can I solve that problem? And then you have to use your discernment, that wisdom that we've been speaking this today, and then how to get rid of what kind of ways or what kind of things should I do in order to get rid or solve this problem. You have to use this. For example, also, this is one technique, and not one technique or one reflection. The second tip that I can tell you is to compare with biggest problems than yours. So usually we just focus in your own little individual problem. And so try to focus in someone that has a bigger problem than you. Let's say that, for example, we Tibetans, we suffer a lot from the Chinese, isn't it? Like the whole Chinese government and all of these, all of them, they are really giving these problems to us. All of us, we lost our land and then contact with family and so forth. But out of the kindness of His Holiness Dalai Lama, that he fled Tibet to here in order to be in a free country, in order to help us to keep this, even like to strive for our freedom and our knowledge. He always tell us, His Holiness, he always tell us, you have to use your discernment, your wisdom. What means that? Like try to analyze, like try to look at your problem or what is causing you the problem from a wider perspective and from many different point of view. Then how can I correct that problem? If one problem has no, just like what Shantideva said, right? If the problem has no solution, why to be unsatisfied or unhappy? If the problem has solution, you have to look for the solution and not to be unhappy. And so that's what you really have to do. Like sometimes when we compare other problems, we see, oh, my problem is not that big. And then slowly, all of that afflictions become a little bit cool, a little bit down in your heart, and then you're more able to, to think better and to find a better method to get rid of that problem. Okay. Okay, if you have more questions or if you want a follow-up and so forth, please just send in our WhatsApp group. Okay, it's like that. So maybe now we are 4:30, and so we are gonna leave for today. Okay, thank you everyone.
지지는 졸랐던 쓰기라 너는 졸랐어야는 건데 시에라 아니 자도는 얘기해서 주시잖아요 근데 디소시 땅 아니 디소땅 년대되데 요들이야 지금 TV에서 하는 맞죠 안더니 저야는 아니 건데 시에 다시 마루 천이 콘터더 시에는 나더니 그 럽조선 뭐야 그다 냐올레마도 똑반도 뭐 드니까 계시 말에 그래서 저서 드니지 만도서 빼모면 그래서 담제가 건세시에요.
So first of all, before we finish today here, so I just want to really from deep of my heart to apologize for maybe you just feel that it was waste of time for you, or you didn't learn any new things and so forth. And so really sorry for so much from my side if I didn't correspond to your expectations and so forth, either you here at present or even at home. So sorry, because actually I don't have higher studies, I don't have anything of realization and so forth, and so I don't know much. I said everything that I knew, that I could remember, I can knew, but sorry if I didn't if I did any mistake. And finally, I really wish a very good life and a healthy life for all of you, and may all of you live well and healthy. Okay, and thank you so much. Okay, thank you. See you next Sunday.